Forget fame and fortune. A new study is breaking down how Americans truly define success, and some of the results may surprise you. Joining us now is Populace Co-Founder Todd Rose. And Todd, you teamed up with Gallup and asked 5,000 people to create the Success Index. Explain how individuals define success, though, when we talk about it, compared to how they think society defines it, because that's what this study was pointing out, and it was very intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big surprise, is that when we asked people about the sort of subtle ways that they think about the lives they want to live, there's such a stark contrast between that and how they think everybody else in the country thinks. So specifically, when we looked at what people really care the most about, some things like education, not surprisingly, but then like character and relationships and community are really important. And yet, when we ask about what they think everybody else wants, status and fame just rocket to the top.
Todd, I'm wondering if you can essentially talk about the differences between the different groups, because I noticed that conservatives, for example, place a lot of importance on, I believe it was family, whereas liberals don't. I'm wondering if you can talk us through that.
Yeah, so the big insight is that it's just massively individual. I mean, there were no two people that were identical. It was that individual. But it's not surprising that there were some clusterings based on ideology, right, and political views. We do see that conservatives did place more value on being a parent, and on the other side, liberals placed a greater value on having work that they enjoy. But what they had in common was a near blanket rejection of traditional sort of status-driven, zero-sum views of success.
And did you find anything else that really just popped out to you that was unusual or unexpected?
Yeah, you know, I thought that age would play a bigger role, right? There were certainly age-related differences. For example, young people value an advanced degree more than older folks. That's not that surprising. And millennials tended to care a lot more about a purpose in life, which I thought was quite inspiring, frankly. But what was so fascinating is that it didn't seem to matter whether you were younger or older. There seems to be a very, very big shift away from the traditional materialistic views of purely economic mobility as the indicator of success towards something more personal and substantive and frankly, hopeful.
So, Todd, obviously, we're talking a lot about politics lately with the 2020 election heating up, and success is something that all of these candidates talk about a lot. Success of the nation and different policies that can make every individual more successful. So I'm wondering, if you are a presidential candidate, how do you read these results to essentially maybe tweak your messaging or your platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that we get hung up on economic mobility. It's very important. Obviously, people need to be able to pay their bills. But this study would suggest that what it means to have a good life, the sort of satisfaction with who you are and how life is going, is far more diverse than that. And there are things that we can do focused on values, focused on community. People are starving to be closer to each other right now in this digital age. And I think we can focus more on that in our civic society than just purely brass tacks economics.
And very interesting just to see the dichotomy between personal definitions of success and what we all think everybody else is thinking. Clearly not the same thing. All right, Todd Rose, breaking down the study's findings. Thank you so much for taking the time, sir.